Hello, everybody. I'm Zenith Rule, and welcome back to In Retrospect, where Kat Macberrie and I discuss shows that have aired in the past and see how well they hold up today. And today we are once again diving into Steven Universe with the fourth season of the show. This has been a long time coming because we recorded the season 3 episode last year. Again, this took me a long time to get out season 3 because we recorded it well in advance. But that's when I started having chest issues and inability to breathe, and a lot of other things happened to the point where we had to keep halting our recording and in my editing sessions, and it got to the point where we watched season 4 twice before recording this episode.
You're lucky I like this show, or I'd be mad at you.
And I'm sorry, but that is entirely my fault. But I have had surgery. This is as of now, it is February of 2019. I've had my chest surgery. I'm feeling good, and we have seen season 4 of Steven Universe twice, and we're ready to discuss. But before we begin, how's it going, Kat?
Doing good. Finally glad we're able to get this out of the way, because I'm dying to show you season 5. And just for context of everyone listening in, I have seen up to the finale, Change Your Mind. So I know what's going to happen. So, damn, that puts a lot of shit we just watched into context.
And it's frustrating, too, because season 4 ends on a cliffhanger. When we first saw the season, I was at Kat's house, and we saw the cliffhanger, and I'm just like, oh my god. But that was months ago, and we were like, okay, we need to record this, I can't wait to see season 5. Months go by, and I'm like, oh god. So we saw season 4 again, and I'm still like, oh my god, what is going to happen? Because it is such a cliffhanger. More so than any other season. Like, they usually end on a cliffhanger of sorts, but here I'm just like, I don't know what's going to happen next. But let's go into the overarching structure of this season. To be perfectly honest, I think this is the best paced season of the bunch. And while I still consider season 2 to be the best season so far, this is my second best in terms of how much I like it. This season did a lot of things right. It's structured in kind of a 2-arc structure, unlike season 2 where it was more of like 3 different arcs for the characters. This is 2 separate story arcs. We already got the character development. We already got a lot of stuff happening. Now we're dealing with a lot of the fallout, and they do a good job of stringing these 2 arcs and putting a couple of towny episodes in between, but not enough that it becomes infuriating. And even the towny episodes seem to tie in much better in this season than in previous seasons, and it overall feels much better put together than season 1 and season 3 ever did.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Because whereas it was either, you would have, like, these little arcs here and there, and then, like, a whole, like, series of, like, just towny episodes that, like, go nowhere or only, like, focus on character development and stuff. With this one, it's like, you have the character development mixed in with the towny episodes, but they also throw in hints of plot throughout, and it eventually culminates toward the arc of the season. So, like, there's 2 arcs. You have the one midway with them going into space, and you see, like, from the first couple episodes, they kind of build up to that. And then after they get back from space, again, they litter a few more, hints of plot throughout that eventually culminate into the final arc of this, where the cliffhanger is. So yeah, this definitely did a much better job in that regard, because granted, some of the episodes you can see out of context and, it wouldn't make a difference, but for the most part, it's like you can look at this and tell, yeah, this is season 4. This is definitely where we're at right now.
Yeah. I think what I like the most about this is a lot of this deals with the fallout of the previous 3 seasons. We finally got all that stuff out of the way. Jasper and Lapis and Peridot, like all the villains have been defeated, so we can move on to resolution and falling action of this conflict, where Steven has to deal with the stuff that he's done in the past. He's dealing with like a lot of issues emotionally, and he wants to know what's happening with his mother, and a lot of it is him driving the plot, trying to figure out what people aren't telling him. And I love that because it's finally him taking charge and saying, I want to know what the fuck is going on. I want to know what you're hiding from me. And a lot of it is him defying the gems and finding out for himself what really is going on. And it does lead to him making mistakes, but I think this is a lot of really good character growth for him as a character because he's dealt with so much. And now he's just like, you know what? I'm going into space. I'm going to find out what the hell is going on.
Yeah, like I've never like granted they've shown Steven like frustrated in past seasons, but this one is like he gets like super freaking pissed off because at this point he knows that something big is going on. He knows that there's a much bigger threat out in space, and he now knows about the war crimes that his mother committed. And he wants to get the full picture of everything, and he wants to, live up to her legacy and do whatever it is she meant to do, but he can't figure that out and nobody will tell him. And you could just see that like his frustration is what leads toward the arc with him meeting the diamonds ultimately. And then again, his frustration leads to him going into his mother's room to like try to talk to her but realizing he can't. Him looking through her stuff and realizing that there's no like big overall like plot or whatever or plan that she ultimately had for him. So, and it translates really well to the audience because I remember like as people were watching these episodes come out, they kept thinking, "Oh my God, we're finally gonna figure out what's going on at last. We're finally gonna figure out what Steven's purpose is," and yada yada. Only for them to be like, "Nope, there's nothing." And it's like it's frustrating for everybody at this point, and that's kind of what makes it like enticing though, because something's going on, you just can't figure out what.
And that's the thing that's kind of got me since season 1. I like the mystery, but when you spread a mystery out for so long, you have to give us something. And this season gives us a lot because we're put in the shoes of Steven. We're the ones who want to know. We want to know what is the purpose of the diamonds and what's going to happen and why they haven't attacked yet. And there's just so many like little plot threads that have coalesced into this arc that I just really enjoy it. I think this is one of the best put together arcs, especially because it's Steven trying to figure stuff out. A lot of the episodes for the first half of the first arc is just him trying to go through and learn more about gem culture, the stuff that Pearl and the rest of them won't tell him because they're so afraid that he'll see his mother in a negative light. And the more we learn about Rose, the more we kind of question, is she a good person? I know people have said this over time, and I don't think I've learned enough to make a decision about that yet, but she's done a lot of bad things, and she's left Steven with all of this baggage, all of this unknowns, and he's being attacked by everyone, and nobody wants to let him in on why, because she was a good person, and that kind of translates to us as audience members.
Yeah, it's like I can't comment too much because again, I've seen season 5, so I kind of know the truth behind all this, but I can understand the frustration, like, because it's like growing up, you think your parents are like the best and that they can do no wrong and they know everything and stuff. But as you get older and you see them like interact with other people and stuff, that you start to see their flaws more, and then like that picture just chips away and everything. And even though your relatives and friends and stuff like, say like what a great person your parent is, whatever, eventually you come to see for yourself that that's not fully the case, that they all have like that one thing that if you were an outsider you would definitely like, despise them for it, or at least, have a negative view of them for it. So it's kind of interesting to like see this, especially because we've been built up for the last like 3 seasons, saying that, oh, Rose was this like great heroic savior of Earth, that she fought to free gems from oppression and to save the humans and has been protecting the Earth for thousands of years, only to find out that, yo, she did some shit. Like, there's a reason that people are after her. So it's pretty heavy, honestly, especially when, Steven has her gem and like a lot of people consider him to be Rose Quartz, and, pretty much it's like inheriting like your parents' worst enemies. It sucks and it's not fair.
And you don't know enough to know the right answer, and I like that. But also peppered in with that angst, because like the season isn't all negative emotions. It does have a lot of lighthearted stuff. One of the earlier episodes, Know Your Fusion, is just Smoky Quartz being interviewed by Sardonyx, and it's a hilarious episode, and they didn't need to put it there, but it's a nice levity. They keep things balanced well with the emotions here, and just when you have like these heavy episodes, you have stuff like last one out of Beach City, where Pearl is a badass and it's a lot of fun. There are things peppered in that really go to show that they want to create a good tone for the series. They deal with heavy stuff in the series, and especially in this season, but they have enough time to take a step back and say, not everything is bad. Let's have a little bit of fun for a couple episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like that too. And another surprising thing is that they add a little bit more depth to side characters that you wouldn't really expect. Like how they give more background to Mr. Smiley, what goes on behind his smile and everything. They actually make Onion sympathetic. They actually make Lars sympathetic. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, I really appreciate what they try to do, because, I mean, if you're going to have, like, all these towny episodes and stuff, it's good to, characterize the side characters and make them, endearing to us, especially the ones that, at first glance, you don't really like that much. So, I really appreciate the season for that, although Ronaldo is still the worst, by far.
Yeah, one thing I do have to comment on is that the possibly the worst episode of the show happens in this season. For all I love this season for, Rocknaldo is a horrible episode, and it's all about Ronaldo, and he wants to become a crystal gem, and he kicks Steven out of his own home simply because, hey, Ronaldo doesn't have gem powers, he doesn't have a gem weapon, he doesn't want to help out, but he still feels left out when he's not on a mission. Like, what is wrong with you, Ronaldo?
Like,
The entitlement of this guy.
I think it's like kind of a comment to on like cultural appropriation. Like, how like a lot of white people will like boast how, oh, they have Native American blood and everything, and how that makes them special somehow. But at the same time, they don't get involved with like Native American rights or preservation or anything like that. They just do it just for like, the sake of glorifying themselves. And the moment where they're not like included in all that, it just, suddenly they're suddenly just like, screw this, I didn't care about it in the first place.
I just, Ronaldo's an entitled little shit. He thinks he knows everything about everything, and yet he gets everything like only partially right half the time. And it's like, yeah, he knows some things, but then he starts saying, oh, the rock people are evil and blah blah. Like, you're an idiot. You are an idiot. You don't... I don't like Ronaldo. Granted, he's not the worst character in the show, But Lars is made sympathetic in this season. Ronaldo is still an ass. Kevin still sucks.
Oh yeah, nobody's worse than Kevin.
So yeah, we have possibly the worst episode in this season, but also we have some really good highlights. Now, I don't know if any of you listening to this have seen Aqua Teen Hunger Force, but the voice actor for Carl in Aqua Teen Hunger Force is in one of these episodes, a two-parter actually called Gem Harvest, where Carl turns out to be their uncle, and he flies a plane, and he's the owner of the barn that they all congregate in, and Gem Harvest is one of my favorite episodes in this entire season, mostly because Carl is there, and like he doesn't like he has that distinct voice that I'm just every time he opens his mouth I'm just like, okay, this is funny.
He just shows up and he's like, "Who did this to my freaking barn?"
and he thinks that the gems are hippies.
Wait a minute, oddly colored skin, jewels all over yourselves? You're hippies!
And he learns that Rose and Steven's father were never officially married.
Like, I was kind of surprised that they made this a half-hour episode. Like, I could understand it with Bismuth because, you know, they were introducing to us a new character, and trying to like give all this backstory and stuff, especially the history between her and Rose and everything, and give us a few hints as to like what she's done and all that. With this one, like, it was kind of the equivalent of a Thanksgiving holiday special, except that they don't actually have holidays in this show, so it was just them, you know, having a nice family dinner. But aside from introducing Andy, like, there wasn't really anything else going on. And granted, you know, Andy is a new character to us, but at the same time, he's not completely important to the plot. Like, I know Bismuth will be later on, but, like, Andy, like, granted, he comes back in one episode to, like, fly them over to Korea, but that's about it. So even then, I'm still, like, a little surprised. Like, and it kind of makes me wish that this show really did do, half-hour episodes as opposed to like 11 minutes, because I feel like they could do so much more, and they have been shown to do it. It's just, you know, I wish that was the norm and not the exception.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Andy does serve a purpose later on, and I was kind of surprised. Again, it's how well this season in particular ties things into the main plot, even in the side episodes. And I like that, but then again, like, this filler episode, while being extremely hilarious, lots of fun, shows what they can do with a half an hour, and they probably didn't even need a half an hour for this episode, but it was awesome. This episode also introduces another new character, Pumpkin.
Oh yeah, Pumpkin.
Who is the mascot now. Pumpkin is a vegetable that Steven brings to life, who is now their pet dog, pretty much.
I'm still trying to, like, figure out the whole, like, that whole aspect of Steven's powers, because it's shown that he can bring vegetables to life, as he did with, like, the watermelon Stevens. But I'm kind of, like, confused as to how some of the vegetation becomes basically just him in vegetable form, and then others become, like, animal versions of like, the vegetables. Like, I don't fully understand how that works.
I'm not entirely sure either, but I still love the episode for giving us, like, all these one-liners, all these jokes back to back to back about, like, how they want to raise vegetables not to eat them, but just to make more like living vegetables. And then later on they go out to the store because they want to impress him. So they celebrate all the holidays in one: birthday, death, marriage.
We're sorry for your wedding.
Yeah, we're sorry for your marriage. Like, there's some really great witty one-liners because I mean, they're gems, they're aliens, they don't really understand human culture. And Andy just like starts laughing and takes it in stride. I'm just like, this episode is really good at just entertaining, and I feel like this as a standalone is probably one of the best standalone, even though it does kind of take it becomes a little bit important later, but yeah, this is one of my favorite standalones.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's also an interesting look too at like how to deal with, a family member or relative, like somebody who has like kind of conservative views and is like stuck in their ways and everything, and how you can kind of see from like their point of view of like why they hold so true to like their values and everything, but at the same time, trying to change their minds and show that there's like another way to do things, and that family doesn't just have to be blood relations. It could be friends, and anybody who like who you just care about. So I like that too, and I was kind of like afraid at first because I thought he was going to be like a bad guy in this episode, given how what a jerk he was to everyone. But I was glad by the end of it that he was actually understanding of everything and rather accepting, considering that he only just now figured out that he has a nephew, since like him and Greg hadn't spoken for years. So I was happy about that.
And we also learn Greg's real last name.
Yeah, DeMeo.
DeMeo.
Yeah, I was really surprised about that, because, like, I kind of, with the weirdness of this universe, I was kind of, like, accepting of the fact that, universe is just their last name. I mean, it kind of makes sense, considering, we have characters named, Onion and Sour Cream, like, and the Pizza Family. Like, I kind of just accepted it, but then they're like, oh, no, that's just a stage name. Like, this is their real last name, and I'm like, huh. Interesting. That means they're also Italian. I did not know that.
They're my kind of people. They talk with their hands, and they keep asking what happened to the frickin' bun, It's great. So yeah, we talked a little bit about the structure and about the side episode. So let's dive into the first arc. Now, this arc was something I did not see coming, because I've been waiting for a very long time for the Diamonds to interact with them in some capacity, and we haven't had this. And then all of a sudden, Steven goes on this quest because he has a dream about this. They call it a palanquin, but he doesn't know what it is, but he finds it in Buddy's book, which is Buddy is the founder of the town, and he left behind a journal of all the things that he saw. Well, inside the book, they find a picture of the one place that they pretty much haven't gone. Most of the places are stuff we've seen in previous seasons. They find the palanquin, and he asks the gems, okay, what is this? What is this all about? I'm seeing this in my dreams. There's something going on. None of the gems want to talk to him about it, and they're all really, really scared, especially Garnet. So what does he do? He goes to his father, defies the gems, and he flies over to Korea, where the palanquin is located. And all hell break loose.
Yep, we finally get a real, actual, legit look at Blue Diamond, who honestly doesn't really look like how she's portrayed, because I remember the first time they showed her in Garnet's flashback, she was like this cloaked, ominous figure who was like cold and calculating and everything. And you even see her on the mural, like how even though she's like that, she's also, elegant and graceful and everything. But then you actually see her, and she's an emotional wreck. Like, she's so emotional. Like, she actually has powers based on her emotions. Like, when she cries, everyone around her cries. Or at least, gems, like, people with gems, like, actually cry. So I thought that was rather unique, because it's like, it's nothing what you expect, because you think like she's gonna be just like Yellow Diamond, that she's all like stern and commanding, and she wants to destroy things. But no, with this, she's actually like been sneaking off to Earth to look at this palanquin, which apparently belonged to Pink Diamond, and she's apparently been mourning her loss for thousands of years. And that's just like,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of almost mind-boggling to me, because like, granted, a lot of people, I know a lot of people, like, depending on how they are, they can either grieve for a little bit or they can grieve for years, but like thousands of years, like, Jesus.
Yeah, like speaking from personal experience, grief is different for everybody. Some people turn into emotional wrecks. Some people eventually get over it. I've dealt with some very close personal deaths recently, and I've powered through. But it's not an easy thing, and I can definitely relate to how it changes you as a person. And I think this is a great twist of how you expect her to be one way, and she probably was at a certain point, but the death of Pink Diamond has really changed her to the point where she's a much different person. And I think that's actually good for Steven, because she seems like the type of person that might be able to reason with. Like, Steven can bring about the best in some people, and while he can't reason with everyone, as we've seen, I feel like Blue Diamond might have that small bit of compassion now that Steven can bring out. Unfortunately, that's not the case here.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, she doesn't despise organics like the way that Yellow Diamond does, because she actually does, talk to Greg when he addresses her, and they actually have a conversation. They bond over like their mutual grief and everything. And granted, she still kind of like condescends to him a bit, because she's surprised that he actually has emotions. But at the same time, like, it's still interesting that she is able to just talk with organics like they were gems. And then, unfortunately, she decides to just throw him in a zoo. Because,
Yeah. It's like, oh, you're capable of sharing in my grief. Well, I'm going to preserve you in the human zoo. Because they have human zoos in outer space, thousands of light years away, where humans have been taken and just kept for study and other purposes for thousands of years.
Yeah, that kind of is disturbing when you think about it. Because, like, you have they're basically the equivalent of a cult, except that, it's not. They were granted, they were kind of recruited into this, like, probably at random, but at the same time, it's like you see these humans who've never ever like been to Earth, who'd never experienced like Earth life or anything like that, and they basically follow like the voices in their head, which are, basically sort of like earpieces in their earrings, and they just seem like so relatively happy about their situation, and they just blindly like follow anything. Like, it's actually kind of disturbing.
Yeah, they have never known pain, and when they do eventually learn what pain is, they can't deal with it, and it shows that the gems don't really understand fully what people need, because it's like, yeah, you can live an entire life without pain, but pain helps teach us um, to learn and grow from loss, and it's a very scary type of thing where, like, you see these people are so creepily happy, and their lives are so boring.
Yeah, and I still can't wrap my head around the fact that there still are living humans, because keep in mind, they started doing this like thousands of years ago when Pink Diamond was still in charge, which means that, however many humans they gathered, they've been interbreeding with each other for thousands of years. So that means pretty much every human we saw was like extremely inbred by that point, which makes me wonder how they were able to keep their species going. Like, granted, there's only like a handful of them at that point, because inbreeding eventually leads to infertility, but it's still kind of just disturbing, especially like that even after she's gone, they just keep it going. And I mean, I'm kind of glad, because they shouldn't deserve to die just because their diamond is gone, but it's still really freaking disturbing, especially because they're like forcefully paired off with each other like at random. And I guess like maybe they do some research into that, but still, it's just the whole thing is just creepy.
Yeah. So this entire arc is Steven using the Ruby spaceship to go into space with the gems and try and save Greg. And the thing is, there are several times where they almost fail because Steven gets captured too. And throughout the entire thing, I was like clenching my knees trying to figure out how are they going to get out of this mess because they're trapped thousands of light years from Earth. They get there in time to save him where it hasn't been that long, but even still, you have these new gems who are in charge of the space station, and the diamonds show up. Yellow Diamond and Blue Diamond both show up in the space station. And I'm like, how the hell are they gonna get out of this? Because like, what if Blue Diamond recognizes Garnet? What if like something happens? What if Yellow Diamond recognizes? Well, Peridot doesn't go with them, but even so, what if Peridot? What if Yellow Diamond recognizes one of them? Like, there's a whole bunch of things that could have gone wrong, and this to me was the most exciting part of the entire show for me. This build up to this one long arc was so good. It was so I had to keep watching every new episode because I was literally on the edge of my seat trying to figure out what is going to happen.
It was funny because even Sapphire was predicting that they'd fail, which you kept thinking in your mind, okay, how is this going to go down? I mean, there are so many ways, like, how's this going to happen? But they ultimately end up getting out of it. And, you know, it's rather surprising because so many times, like, because, like, that you think that, oh, Steven and Greg are going to be trapped within the zoo and, like, they're not going to be able to get out. Oh, but they've managed to figure out a way. Then they get captured by the Amethyst. But then they find out, oh, it's actually Amethyst is a long-lost family and everything. And then you see them going into the bubble room with all the rose quartz and they see in the diamonds, you think, oh shit, they're gonna get caught. But then, like, they escape there, and then it's Holly Blue Agate. But thankfully, she apparently has no peripheral vision, so they get past her there, and they don't get caught until, like, the very last second. By that point, they're like, fuck it, let's just, like, you know, go all out. Like,
It's so good.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the better arcs, because you generally don't know what's gonna happen. Like, you're so, like, afraid that, like, they're gonna be captured and they're gonna be split up or shattered or whatever. Like, any one of them could have easily bit the dust in this episode, but I'm really glad that didn't happen. But it was interesting to see that the only way they got out of it was because Sapphire and Ruby had to, like, split up and, like, play the roles that they were meant to, just to, you know, continue with the facade that all the gems think that, oh, these gems are only for this part and that's all we need to know. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we learn from this arc too. There's a lot of character development for specific gems, the gem hierarchy. We see more different types of gems and how Holly Blue Agate views everyone. Like, pearls are just supposed to open doors, and like there's some really interesting stuff there. But I think there are two parts that I really love the most about this is first when they introduce the diamonds and you see them talk and interact and discuss things, and Yellow Diamond wants to destroy all of the rose quartz and move on and destroy Earth. Like, she's just angry about the death of Pink Diamond, whereas Blue Diamond wants to mourn and celebrate the remains, like what is left of Pink Diamond and everything that is around. And you see how different they view things. I thought that was really great.
Yeah, like it really does portray grief, like, in different forms, like, extremely well. And we even see, like, a vulnerable moment from Yellow Diamond, because she sings this great song called "What's the Use of Feeling Blue," And she's saying how what's the point of feeling sad and dealing with these emotions when you could just wipe them all away and start over. But by the end of the song, like, you actually see a moment where she starts to let her sadness overtake her, and that kind of surprisingly makes her sympathetic, because up to this point you think she's just like a cold calculating leader who destroys anything that annoys her. But with this, you see that she actually is mourning the loss of Pink Diamond too. She just is not trying not to show it and be strong. So I thought that was like really good.
We also get to see the pearls of both Blue and Yellow Diamond and how different they are. I love Blue Pearl. She's just so reserved.
Yeah, she's like so soft spoken and everything. Like, I've seen people theorize that like high-ranking gems who get their own pearls, they get to like design them. So they probably design them after themselves, because that's kind of what they seem like, with Blue Pearl being all like demure and like withdrawn and everything, while Yellow Pearl is like outspoken and excitable and everything, and she's like has a commanding presence to her. So plus they have like the same gem placement as their diamonds too. So it kind of makes sense.
Another thing is just the song, as you said, is really, really good. They finally have Yellow Diamond sing, and oh my god.
Yeah, it's Patti LuPone, a Broadway legend, singing the song, and it's great. I love it.
This is one of the best songs of the season. And while we're on the subject of this song, Kat is going to sing a rendition of this for us. Take it away, Kat.
Why would you want to be here? What do you ever see here that doesn't make you feel worse than you do? Tell me, what's the use of feeling blue? Why would you want to employ her subjects that destroyed her? Why keep up her silly zoo? Oh, tell me, what's the use of feeling blue? An army has a use, they can go and fight a war. A sapphire has a use, they can tell you what it's for. An agate terrifies, a lapis terraforms. With the diamond when they need her blue, you got to be a leader blue. Yes, of course we still love her, and we're always thinking of her. But now there's nothing we can do, so tell me, what's the use of feeling? What's the use of feeling? What's the use of feeling blue? Oh, how can you stand to be here with it all? Here with it all, drowning in all this regret. Wouldn't you rather forget her? Oh, won't it be grand to get rid of it all? Rid of it all. Let's make a plan of attack. Start looking forward and stop looking back. Oh, yes, of course we still love her, and we're always thinking of her. Don't you know I miss her too? But tell me, what's the use of feeling? What's the use of feeling? What's the use of feeling?
Nicely done, nicely done. Yes. Lovely, lovely. What is the use of feeling blue anyway? The other thing that I really love about this arc, specifically the episode That Will Be All, because for all the tension, all the build-up, and everything leading up to it, they still finally get caught in the end, and they have a really good throwdown. And at first, it seems like, oh no, Holly Blue Agate is stronger, what are they gonna do? Well, it turns out that they use intelligence instead of brawn to make their way out of this. They say, well, if you report this, you wouldn't want the diamonds to find out that you let us get away and that you let this all happen under your watch. And Pearl gets the last thing in, saying, that will be all. And it's all a nice bookend, because the entire time Holly Blue Agate has just been saying, oh, that'll be all, Pearl. You're only good for opening doors. And she throws it right back in her face, and it's so satisfying.
Yeah, especially because Holly Blue Agate was like so annoying, because she's like one of those like drill sergeants almost. Like you see her constantly yelling and punching and berating the Amethyst, and you know she's acting all like stuck up and everything, and like honestly the clacking of her heels just really annoyed me too. Because like
God.
like you think of like that stuck up teacher or principal you had to deal with who would like walk back and forth being like, so what did you do or whatever, and you're like waiting for her comeuppance. And I just love how when she gets beat down, it's like it's Garnet fusing back together, and she's like, I've been waiting to do this all day, and she like takes out her gauntlet, but then she just punches her with her ungauntlet hand, and she falls over the squeak.
I love it. I love it so much, and it does go to show more the strength of other gems. Another thing in the Blue Diamond, what's the use of being Blue song? We learned that lapis, like the purpose of certain gems, lapises are used for terraforming. Every single gem has a specific purpose. And so it's like, the more we see of other gems in the hierarchy, the more interesting it is to me because of the specific society they've created. I really love this arc.
Yeah, we learned so much, but even despite everything we learned, there's still so much more. Especially when we get to the final arc of the season, when we see even 2 more gems. And damn, like, I thought like the diamonds were evil, but dear God.
Yeah. Now the fallout of this entire arc, the first arc, is they give us a lot of a breather, because there was a lot of tension and it was very welcome. There's a lot of episodes where Steven is just dealing with things. Like we said, Storm in the Room is him trying to talk to Rose Quartz in her room to figure out like what he's supposed to do, because there's a lot of shit going down, and there's also some more things going on that he has to deal with. But there's also a couple individual episodes that we should mention. First of all, Room for Ruby. Now, Room for Ruby by itself is kind of a standalone episode, but it has one major thing in it, so we really should discuss it. Room for Ruby is where one of the rubies, specifically Navy, with the nickname that Steven has given to her, the ruby falls from the sky and lands back on Earth after all this time, and tricks the gems into thinking that, she could possibly be nice. And she fools the audience as well, because she puts on one hell of a performance. Ultimately, she, the act of her loving everything is just an act. She steals the Ruby spaceship and gets away with it. But we find out just how sadistic she is. Because she could have stolen the spaceship at any point in time. She specifically wanted to see the look on their faces when they found out that the Ruby that they all loved so much betrayed them.
Like, you can kind of see the betrayal coming a mile away, but when it happens, and you see just, like, how much pleasure she's taking in, like, seeing the look of betrayal on their face and everything, like, this is truly one of the most evil characters in Steven Universe. Like, I know a lot of people, like, tend to have, like, their hierarchy of, like, who's like the worst and everything, you know, saying it was Jasper, saying it was Eyeball or whatever, but Navy like goes that extra mile, like, because at least with the others, you can tell their convictions come from like their dedication to their diamonds and how they're doing what they think is right, what their diamonds want and everything. But Navy is doing this just for her own sheer pleasure. Like she could have easily just snuck off at any point and just gone and stolen the ship without them even knowing. But instead, she fools them completely. Just, you know, saying yes to everything, acting totally agreeable and stuff, just so it makes it that much better when she finally, like, flings them out the back of the ship. Like, you gotta love that. And, like, I love villains, and the thing is, like, with that type of villain has to be done right, and they did that perfectly in this episode. It was just so great seeing her face, and the tone of her voice is like, the only problem is that you're still holding on.
And it's so great watching it for a second time because you know what's going to happen, and it just you can see her playing up the act, but it is still believable, and it's like this is an episode that I enjoyed watching a second time. Definitely not Rocknaldo, but definitely that episode was great.
It's so much better seeing the second time because like you know it's coming, but it's still so satisfying when it happens. Especially because I know up to that point a lot of people were like really frustrated with Steven and the gang because they launched the rubies into space at the end of season 3, but they never went back and got them. You think that would be kind of an important thing for them to do, just so, you know, the diamonds didn't know that they were still there. But no, they kind of just leave them out in space. So this is kind of like the culmination of that. It's like, well, that's what you get for not cleaning up after yourselves.
Yeah, especially because when they come back, they said, oh yeah, we should probably deal with them later. It's like they address it, but they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
This all leads... Oh, go on.
And then suddenly 2 episodes later, we get these 2 new homeworld gems on Earth. Coincidence?
Coincidence? I think not. So the final arc of the season is actually done pretty well because it's built up in towny episodes. We have a couple of small individual episodes. One with Connie's father, and one with Lars, fleshing out some of the side characters and actually making Lars more sympathetic. But at the end of each episode, we see the silhouette of 2 new gems and somebody goes missing. And it's just this perfect setup. Like, you don't really know quite what is going on. And it's a good thing they made Lars sympathetic right before he disappeared, because otherwise I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah, like, it's definitely a good mystery. Like, granted, I was a bit spoiled on this arc because, again, you know, I've listened to theorists, and they were like, because when they saw the silhouette and everything, and they saw, like, a few pictures, they kind of, like, pieced together what was happening and, you know, what was going down and all that. So... But at the same time, I had to agree, it was pretty suspenseful, because I'm wondering, like, okay, so are they going to, like, ransom the humans? Are they actually legit going to kidnap them? Is Steven going to have to rescue them the same way he did his dad? Like, what the hell's going to happen? And it kind of culminates into, like, where he ends up, like, sacrificing himself just to save his friends. And it's pretty intense because these 2 gems, like, especially the one gem, the Aquamarine, who's, like, really small, she's easily one of the most powerful foes they've ever dealt with. And
she's able to take care of Adamantite, or...
Alexandrite.
Alexandrite, sorry. She takes care of Alexandrite no problem.
Yeah, like, all she needs is her little, like, bow wand, and she just completely immobilizes people. It actually kind of reminded me of Syndrome's powers, the way he's able to freeze people.
0 point energy. Mm-hmm. Oh, you caught me monologuing again.
Plus, we learned an interesting, like, trick to fusion, too, because we see the other gem, Topaz, which is technically 2 topazes fused together. But the thing is, like, when they kidnap the humans, if they fuse with them in between, the humans get stuck between them. Like, I never realized that, and I thought it was really strange, but at the same time, kind of cool. It's like, but I'm also wondering, like, how?
It's a mystery.
Like, and I really feel bad for all the humans that got stuck in there, especially the ones that were like upside down or had like their mouths covered and everything. I'm like, thank God their faces were like above their torsos, or they'd be suffocating right now.
Yeah, and then when they unfuse, they're just in their arms, and like there's some really interesting stuff here. The first thing to note is Aquamarine is devious as all hell. Like the way that they show her, she is worse than any diamond that we've seen, because like when they start to fight, she uses the humans as hostages and as shields. Like she's not above doing that, and she's going and she tells Topaz to kill the humans because the orders weren't to bring them alive in case they resisted. And her face animation, like she keeps turning into the most devious, mischievous hit girl. Like, oh my god.
I know. I especially love how people online keep comparing her to like Darla Dimple from Cats Don't Dance.
Oh my god, now I can't not see that.
And especially because Topaz looks like her butler Max, like the giant silent type. It's just too perfect.
Yes, Miss Dimple.
Yeah, she's definitely like the most devious. And again, like with Navy, she seems to like enjoy this to a degree. Like, granted, she kind of like portrays herself as that, you know, oh, she's doing this mission to like satisfy her diamonds, but at the same time she feels like it's beneath her, and then she gets a little bored with it. And even when she's like given like a fight and everything, she's still like, I'm still bored. I guess I'll kill one of you to amuse myself and make this more interesting.
Yeah, like these two to me are some of the best antagonists we've had so far. They're just that powerful, and it's hard to see how you're going to fight them when they do the most devious, cowardly tactics. And we also get another bombshell in this, because when we first find Aquamarine, she says she's looking for my dad. Now, we later find out that the people she's been seeking out are part of a list. A list that Steven gave Peridot.
All the way back in season 2. Or was it
in
season 1?
Season 2.
No, that was season 1, actually, I think. Yeah.
No, that was season 2, because Peridot was the focus of season 2.
No, that was before she came to Earth, though.
Right.
Yeah, so that all the way back in season 1, like, holy shit. Like, talk about a callback.
Yeah, like he's saying, oh, there's a bunch of people here. There's my dad, there's Connie, and he lists off a bunch of people, all the people who have been kidnapped, and she's looking for my dad because she thinks that's a person, because gems don't have parents. And Steven realizes that it's all his fault that everyone's being kidnapped, and he sacrifices himself to save everyone by saying, well, we're easily overpowered. Even the strongest gem fusion can't fight her. So he's like, I am Rose Quartz. And he goes away with them willingly to let everyone else go. And now that the Rubies have their spaceship again, there's no way to get Steven back. And that's the cliffhanger. What the hell, people? What? You expect me to wait? I have waited for months to know what's going to happen.
Now you know my pain.
Now you know the pain of the Steven bombs. Oh my god, when I first saw this cliffhanger, I was like, but no, we haven't even like sat down to record season 3 yet. Oh, we need to do that, and we need, like, months go by. Oh my god, we saw it a second time, like, and I still have to record season 4. I need to know. I need to know. Why do you do this to me, Steven Universe?
That's what every single fan asks themselves. It's like we go for like months, and then we get like these towny episodes in between, and then we get little snippets of plot and hints toward what's gonna happen and stuff, and then all of a sudden this big ass like bombshell like happens, and then they go on hiatus for like a couple months, and it's like, you sons of bitches, how dare you?
And to me, this is why I think Steven Universe is best when it's binge watched. I mean, you can definitely see a lot of the flaws with them releasing early seasons with the towny episodes, like so much back to back. But at least you're not stuck waiting for some of these things. Because, like, I don't know about you, but if I had to wait when, like, Greg Universe was captured and there was months of hiatus, I would have died. Like, because you don't know what's going to happen. And it's just like, but I need to know. I need to know.
And it's like frustrating too, because with some of these Steven bombs, you have ones that are shown throughout the course of a week, like one day after the other. But then you have others that were like, it's one every other week. And then ones that are like once a month. And it's just, oh dear God, like I remember the torture well, because I had binge watched it all the way up to, I want to say, yeah, about the end of season 2 when I first started watching, and then after that, having to deal with the hiatus and wait like everyone else, it was freaking torture. That's why I started watching the like theorist videos, because I'm thinking, oh, maybe they know something, maybe we could figure out something. And usually they were the first ones who would find like either a screenshot or would hear about an interview about some plot thing that was dropped, and then I would like kind of latch onto it like it was like freaking food or water or whatever. But now it's like, now that I know everything that's happened, I'm like, oh God, season 5 felt like it went on for 5 years.
You see a screenshot. It's like, it's subtext, Steven. You can find it all out there. So, all right, we've discussed overarching story structure. We've discussed the 2 arcs. I think this is really well handled. The only reason why I don't think it's the best season of like overall is simply because I think season 2 was tighter in its character development. Now we have all the character development and it's more plot, and we do have a lot more towny episodes than season 2, but still the way this is handled is really well done. Even with Rocknaldo, we have 2 really good arcs that had me on the edge of my seat, and a lot of really good character development. Other episodes that I love that I haven't mentioned, Tiger Philanthropist. Anything that involves Tiger Millionaire is amazing, and the way they portray wrestling fans in both Tiger Millionaire and Tiger Philanthropist are just, I love it.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I actually have a bunch of favorites in this one. I know some of them we discussed already. I like the Kindergarten Kid, just because it's like a great homage to like the old like Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote cartoons, except with Parrot Hat. And it's like, she's my favorite character, but at the same time, it's really funny seeing her get hurt. Especially because, like, she seems to be really, like, made of sturdy stuff. Because, like, we've seen her poof before, but, like, she's had rocks thrown on her, she's fallen from high cliffs, and she doesn't poof. Like, I find that kind of amazing.
She's made of stern stuff, and I love when she's acting like the monster. Black.
Blah.
Black.
I also liked Buddy's book, because, you know, again, we get a bit of backstory, at least from the founder's sidekick's view, with him going around to, like, all, like, the gem locations and stuff, and we see him, like, we actually see, like, Rose along with her group of 7 lions. Hint, hint. So we get a bit of a clue about, you know, lion there, although not completely, because they just are kind of, like, there. I really like Mindful Education. because this one like deals with anxiety and how to deal with it and everything. Like, and it has a really great song in it too. Has a was a Here Comes a Thought, which Garnet is trying to like teach Stevani, how to deal with her anxiety. Because that's the thing, is like both Connie and Steven deal with anxiety throughout the episode in like different ways and capacities, and it kind of affects their fusion. So she kind of shows her like calming methods of how to deal with it, and it's the artwork in that scene is just gorgeous. Like I think the artwork throughout the whole season is like kind of inconsistent and a bit wonky at times, but in this particular episode it was really beautiful.
Yeah, and I definitely agree that Here Comes a Thought is probably one of my favorite songs in the season. And I will perform it for you now, provided my surgery doesn't sap me of my strength. There we go. If I performed that song, then good job, Zen, future Zen.
Pat you on the head.
Pat. Yeah, like, Mindful Education is one of my favorites simply because of the way it deals with things differently. Because Connie's dealing with things more down to earth and relatable, but Steven's dealing with Bismuth and Jasper and all the people that he couldn't save. And it is heart-wrenching.
Yeah, the scene where like they are falling off the cliff together and he's just like burst into tears and like seeing how he didn't want to hurt anybody and he was just trying to help and everything. Like, dear God, I felt like someone ripped my heart out of my chest and was squeezing it. It was like, you poor dear.
And he's still 14.
I know,
I
right?
remind you. He's 14 and he still has to deal with not having been able to save quite a few people. And yeah, this is one of the standouts.
Oh, definitely. And I also like Three Gems and a Baby. This is like one of the flashback Greg episodes, to the past. In this point, he's thinking back to when Steven was only a couple months old. By that point, Rose is gone. She's part of Steven now. And he's thinking back to when like the Gems like visited and they were bringing presents. I guess this was their Christmas episode. I guess you can, call it that. And then they see that his gem glows when he's happy, and they start thinking that Rose is actually still alive and, trapped inside of Steven, and they're trying to figure out like how to get her out. And it kind of raises a few good questions too, because like Amethyst thinks that Steven is like just like, sorry, hold on, I gotta. Yeah, Amethyst thinks that Steven's like a shapeshifter, that all he has to do is like shift back into Rose and he'll be okay. Garnet thinks that he's a fusion and that his human half will like defuse from the gem half and free Rose. And then like Pearl just straight up thinks that Rose is trapped within the baby, and at one point she actually considers removing his gem. And that point gets a little tense because you're like, oh shit, what's gonna happen when she does that? Because they kind of touched upon that a little bit in the season 3 finale, Bubbled, when Eyeball tries to like gouge the gem out of Steven, and he's like, wait, what would happen to me? And I will say now, I know the answer to that, but I'm not gonna explain it.
Ooh. Another thing is, they kidnap the baby, and they leave Greg stranded in a blizzard.
Yeah, great guys. Like, you kidnapped me? Yep.
I love that reaction. It's like, a lot of things have happened since then. Pearl hated Greg back then. Things have changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she hated Greg. She didn't get along with Amethyst and all that. But like, now look at him now. It's like, good things all around, for the most part. And yeah, as for the other episodes, like we kind of talked about them. Like that will be all. Again, we explained why that's a good episode. Storm in the Room, we explained why that's good. Room for Ruby. The last one though is Lion 4 straight to video. Like not straight to video, so the alternate ending. Sorry, I get the ones mixed up. Yeah, Lion 4 alternate ending. And in this one, like, Steven is determined to find out what his ultimate purpose is. Like, he's convinced at this point that Rose left some sort of secret message for him because he says she's been leaving, like, puzzle pieces as to, like, who she really was and what she planned to do and why she created him and everything. And he was, like, absolutely determined to figure it out. But the only clue he actually gets is, like, this giant key that Lion spits up. But no matter where he goes and what he tries it on, it doesn't work. Till finally he outright asks Lion to take him to where, like, he got the key from. And that's when it takes him out into the middle of the frickin' desert. Because I guess from Buddy's book, like, we saw that she was with those lions in the desert. She must have had a secret base out there, which it turns out she does. And Steven goes there expecting to see, like, this big revelation, and all it is like a broken down room of her, like, junk.
And they didn't even need the key because they're like most of it is crumbling apart.
Mm-hmm. Like, the only thing he finds is a video addressed to someone named Nora. So now suddenly he's thinking he has, like, a twin sister or something, which I've seen people theorize about before, and I'm thinking, oh god, the fandom's gonna lose their shit over this one. So when he asked Lion to take him to, like, where he could find out about Nora, all he does is, like, take him to Greg, and Greg explains that, oh, well, we didn't know if you were going to be a boy or a girl, so we made 2 videos that are basically the same, and then you can watch, one or the other. So it kind of just confirms that, Rose had Steven because she wanted to. She just wanted to let him live and experience life on Earth, and that's really all there is to it. And
it has a really emotional and great ending.
Mm-hmm. Like, on the one hand, like, I like it because the message is that, you don't need a plan when having kids, really. Like, at least in terms of, like, their future. Like, you shouldn't really have kids if your goal is to, like, either, carry on a family legacy or to, like, pass on knowledge or to do, like, whatever that is typically expected of, families when, like, they have kids. That you have kids just because you want to see what kind of person they'll grow up to be and, give them a chance to, like, live their life and everything. That's, really all there is to it, and it's kind of sweet. And at the same time, I also think they kind of did this because, again, theorists were going crazy, like, trying to figure out what Steven's, like, ultimate purpose was, what his magical destiny was and everything. And this episode kind of confirmed that, yeah, there really is none. It's just him existing. That's it.
Another episode I really want to mention is The Good Lars. Up until this season, Lars has been a constant thorn in my side. Because he seems like a teenage jerk who doesn't know what he wants and all this other stuff. But this episode makes him sympathetic in a couple ways. He gets asked by the cool kids to come to a potluck along with Steven and why can't I remember her name?
Sadie.
Sadie, along with Steven and Sadie. So he freaks out because he doesn't know what he should bring, and we learn that he actually knows how to bake and really is good at it and loves to bake, but he thinks that everyone else is going to consider it lame. And honestly, this adds so much to his character. I feel like a large part of his character is projecting this image of what he wants people to see him as being cool, when in actuality he's a great baker and he's good at these things, and that is very much a teenage thing to do, is project a different part of yourself than what is real. And I think this gives layers to his character.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it really surprised me too, because like Lars's whole thing is like, him basically projecting his insecurities as, jerkiness, because he thinks, being like an unfeeling tough guy is, better than how he actually is. But then you see that, like, no, he actually has legitimate talent. He actually has legitimate feelings and everything. And all he needs to, like, overcome that is to basically be himself. But unfortunately, by the end, that still doesn't quite happen yet. Because granted, he is kidnapped by Topaz and Aquamarine, but you see too that his food that his dish that he made was thrown in the garbage. So
He chickened out at the last minute, and the best part is Sadie gets to hang out with the cool kids, and there's really nice line where she says, you know, they really are cool. Like, not cool in the way that Lars thinks, but they're just cool people to hang out with, you know?
mhm.
And she's just like, I wish Lars would open up and let them see it. And it's like, you know, in a lot of ways, that does bring me back to my youth. You know, you try to project a certain aspect of yourself and you end up becoming a person that they don't like, and they're still good people going through their own things. You're creating your own problems.
Yeah, I kind of get that too. I was kind of that way in my youth as well. Because on the one hand, I wanted friends, but I didn't like want them to know the real me because I will admit I was kind of like a jerk and a brat back then. So I kind of acted in a way that usually ended up alienating people. And while I would think that, you know, they liked me, turns out they didn't, or like they tolerated me. So
Hmm.
I kind of get that in a way with Lars. It's probably why like I didn't like him at first because I realized that oh shit, I was that character. But
Yeah. Like, I was kind of like that too.
mhm,
Granted, I created a lot of my own problems, and growing up, I was teased for being more feminine than everyone else and not being capable in sports. And I created a lot of my own problems by trying to fight back against it and be the person that I thought people wanted me to be. But now it's different. Like, now I know that I am a trans woman, and I was just fighting against who I really was. And there's just a lot of things that this episode really hit home with for me. So yeah, like I love the good Lars.
yeah, I appreciate it too. It just sucks that we didn't get that payoff, you know, with him finally overcoming it. But
Yeah.
I will say though there is going to be something significant about Lars's arc in the 5th season. And because keep in mind, when everybody escaped the ship at the end, when Steven gave himself up, Lars wasn't with them.
Yeah, I do recall that Lars went down the stairs and hid.
hmm So they said I won't spoil it, but there is going to be significant, like a lot of significant stuff involving Lars in next season, and I think you'll like it.
So yeah, we talked a bit about the individual episodes we liked. I talked a bit about the music and the overall structures, and honestly, I feel like a lot of this season was building up to those two major points in the arcs. It's probably my favorite season so far. I don't consider it the best, but it does so much to alleviate the problems that we had in season 1 and season 3. It deals with a lot of interesting stuff. It doesn't introduce too many new characters, but it does give us great plot points, and just furthers the stuff that we already had for these characters. Do you have anything to add, Miss Cat?
Yeah, I very much enjoyed this season. Like, cause like throughout season 3, everyone was like complaining that oh we don't like they had such a good build up to season 2, and then season 3 kind of like teetered off from there and all that. But then like season 4 kind of picks it right back up, and like heck, we're throwing not only a diamond, we're throwing 2 diamonds, and then we get these brand new homeworld gems, and we get all this like all of like these characters and this new and like these new like settings and stuff, and it's great. I absolutely enjoy this episode, and like you said, it probably is my second favorite one too, because again season 2 is like definitely my favorite just because of the whole Peridot arc. I will say though, I do like the shorts that came with season 4, because we didn't get any for season 3, but there was like 5 of them for this, and they all kind of shared the same theme in that they were kind of like parodying like the YouTube videos you see, like the popular stuff like the Let's Try and the the cooking and the music and the reaction videos, and I got a lot of like enjoyment out of that. I think the one with Peridot and Lapis is my favorite too.
I love the crying breakfast friends one where the angry lunch enemies come in and then create brunch, and I'm like, now I'm hungry.
I love the self-referential humor on that, because it's pretty much exactly what, the fans of Steven Universe are like. Because they do these reaction videos like, finally, after all this time, we get a new episode. I heard rumors about what's going to happen in this one. It's like, okay, we're watching this. Okay, alright, it's a good episode. Yeah, I'm starting to tear up a little bit. Oh my god, this is happening! Oh my god! No, it can't be over already! I need the next episode! How long will that be?
Who knows when that'll be? Yeah, like this season does a lot right. I think it just is enjoyable on many levels. It really picks up the momentum that we lost in season 3. It has great villains. Honestly, this is just great. So guys, we're gonna move on to season 5.
Oh lordy, that's the big time right there. Like, the shit you were gonna learn, it's gonna blow your fucking mind. I swear to God. But I will say, I think this might be your favorite season, Zen. I think you personally will get a lot of enjoyment and satisfaction out of this particular season.
Oh boy, my body is ready. my body is ready. So anyway, guys, when we see you next, we will be talking about season 5. I'm not sure when season 6 is gonna be finished. But season 5 will be our last for a little bit until season 6 is completed.
Well, I don't think there is a season 6 at the moment. All I know for a fact is that there's going to be a movie sometime in the fall.
Ooh, so we will have to talk about that too.
Yep.
So yeah, we're going to have a lot to talk about. In any case, I am Zenith Rule.
And I'm Kat Macberrie.
And we're going to talk about season 5 soon.
Oh lordy, brace yourself. Oh lord, it's coming.
Hey, this is Megami33. Thank you for watching Zenith Will Review. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more awesome videos. If you like what you see, check out the Patreon page at patreon.com/ZenithWillReview.